Everyone. We're just going to give you a little flavour of some discovery and Envision that we've been doing for Ellucian lately. Excuse me, we're going to move between a couple of screens to get this video done, but let's get into it and see what we learn. So Ness has been working with Ellucian on a prototype for the knowledge ecosystem. And all I'm going to show you came out of a discovery and Envision workshops we ran on site in Fairfax, New York in July 2015 with key Ellucian stakeholders. In those meetings, as well as Kuravilla Matthew, who was kind of giving the overall senior technology lead, for some people you may and may not know. We had Prabha being the solutions architect, Sawad was doing UX strategy, and Sriram was the technical lead, with Jitesh being the delivery manager back in India. And there were several workshops, and I'm going to show you some of the outputs that came from those discovery workshops, just so you get a flavour of how that works. Some photos and sketches. There were a lot of post-it notes. There were a lot of feature lists and prioritization and how to organize what potentially the prototype of the final solution might be, which we're going to go and show you. I'm going to skip back quickly to the first frame of this document that we gave them as an output from that workshop. These are the sketches that Sawad primarily just put together to sort of highlight what we were trying to showcase in the hub. This is them as sketches. And then I'm going to jump out of the sketches and take you to something that came out of Envision, which hopefully you'll think is quite fun. And it's a fully working HTML prototype that we put together based on those sketches. Here we are, go full screen. And this is something that Sawad built with Satya, who's a UI developer, and pulled this together inside a couple of weeks. I'm not sure how familiar you all are with this technique of taking wireframes and building an HTML prototype as a way of getting feedback from users so quickly. But this is where we are. We'll show you what's involved. At the top here of this main landing page, we've got the number of active users, the messages on the system, the number of errors and alerts. The concept of what actually is the integration hub here is in this billboard area that introduces the first time user, so they get to see what it's all about, how it's a hub of applications that you can make use of, and you can put your own application out there. You get to read some of the elements about that. There's room for text, as we say, it's early stages, but this is the concept of where that content will reside before you close it up for people who are veterans, move the rest of the content up. Search was a very big part of this, so we'll go show you what we got done in search in those couple of weeks of working on it. If we put in a search term like student, you will see that we filter the searches by resources, partners and contacts theoretically. If I go and look a little bit more on what comes out of the student research, I get a page here that corresponds to the results of my search. Something about students, so I get a text overview. I get right straight down to this concept where I can run the entity itself, the answer here, the application, in something we've called test harness here, which are not working here, but it is effectively a sandbox environment where developer gets to test each entity to exchange information with other applications. We can go, there isn't previous and next working, so I'm going to go back to the main overview page. So that was a little bit of search working. As we go further down the page, you'll notice an area for news about the hub, how to get started, how you might go about getting app certification, learn more. We've got the concept of track and create cases where you have some problems or issues that you raise with the system, including a telephone help menu to get through there. Get in touch with the professional services areas. When you go down the bottom, you get to this key area which is about the applications that you've actually launched into the hub and the status of where they're at. So we've put 4 in here, and this little tool is showing you where it is in the process. So certified for process application 1, in process, waiting application 3. Application 4 not yet started, so let's look at getting started for that. The steps involved in getting your application certified to obtaining access keys, selecting resources, these kind of elements yet to be filled in of what's involved in doing that. and you can actually go ahead and request the key that leads you finally to the bottom where you would submit an application. So quite a lot going on in what the prototype offers, including the concept of save search up here, which I overlook. You actually can see some of the searches that you might have previously entered into. You get to filter and delete if you go into some of these save searches here, and the bookmarking of them. I'll show you that on my second recorded version of this. There are some of the results for students. Sorry, I'm losing my concept here, but you can all see what I'm getting to. Anyway, the concept of the HTML prototype, which is a great piece of work between Satya and Sawad, it's got three purposes really. One is to validate the design concept and the usability of this. Would people actually know what to do when they got there? And while we watch people do it, what are the questions that they have? So it's a validation exercise, but also introduces granular workflow and features to the users and see what they make of it. Second purpose, I guess, is for some concept of what the feel of the experience might be. Even though it's early stages and had no UI at all in it, it still feels like the hub itself. And thirdly, it was to get Satya comfortable with the design, to be able to experiment with the tech stack before actual sprints begin. In fact, he was able to get a couple of weeks ahead before the first sprint in agile terms. He had a sprint zero and all this. Satya probably took, you won't mind us saying, a little while to get to grips with the concept of wireframing, because I think he was more used to getting signed off, formatted, client-branded UI design almost to then take into to HTML. But in this case, he had a really great way of prototyping quickly. We're getting the feedback, and then we're going to use it. And then this is how the knowledge ecosystem is coming together.